Hey folks, and welcome back to the channel where I draw stuff and you watch me draw stuff. Maybe you're drawing your own stuff at the same time. I know that's what I do when I have videos on in the background. Alright, today we're going to be doing something a little bit different, which is to say a little bit more normal. And I'm just going to be drawing some fan art pictures. So I just got Hades 2 in early access, and it's a lot of fun, and I think Melinoe is a really cool character, and I wanted to draw her, so I'm gonna give that a go today. Changing the episode format a little bit, trying to keep the episodes a little bit shorter, a little bit more consumable. So I'm not really sure how much drawing we're actually going to get done today, but we're going to find out. And we'll figure this whole process out as we go. You might see me bring some references up on the screen now and again. I always encourage drawing from reference when possible. I do have a second monitor where I have my references up, but there is a chance that I'm going to want to have them right next to what I'm drawing, so I don't have to keep bobbling my head back and forth. So if that's the case, I might move them onto my actual drawing screen. But you should know that they are off to the side. I have a picture of Melinoe, and I have a couple of other pose references. I'm going to be drawing her with the axe, because the axe is, the axe is was my favorite weapon. Now my favorite weapon is the Argent Skull. But when I decided to do this, I decided to draw the axe. So I think I'm going to stick with that, because the axe is a cool weapon. Maybe I should draw with the skull. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind halfway through. That happens a lot too. Working on an 11 by 17 canvas today, and I actually am going to save real quick. So I saved the canvas. Something I noticed walking back through my last videos, the Tomie paneling episodes, I noticed I didn't save at all during the entire time I was recording that. I saved 3 times, obviously, at the end of every recording session, but during my actual production of it, I didn't save at all, which is not really a best practice. Typically you want to save early and often. So today I'm going to try to draw Melinoe, a character who until I started playing Hades 2, thought was named Melinoe. So that's on me. But she's really cool. Minor spoilers for Hades 2 if you haven't had a chance to play it yet. But she's Zagreus' sister, and she's got a good look. And she's got a lot of cool weapons, and the game itself is a lot different than, I'm just going to start drawing some stuff now. But the game itself is a lot different, I think, than Hades 1. Obviously, it's Hades 1 really was like kind of a perfect game in a lot of ways, and you kind of wonder like how are they going to improve on that? Is it going to just be more of the same? And I was really at a position where I'm like, I'd be totally fine if it was just more of the same game. But they actually have done a whole heck of a lot to change things and to add mechanics. Really, really fun just across the board. The one thing that I find myself missing is the voice of Zagreus. Zag hasn't showed up yet. I don't know if he's in the game or not. But at least at the start, he's not there. And he's with you, all the time in the first one. So I got really used to hearing his voice. And it's kind of weird that he's not around. Alright, Mel's got one weird arm and one flesh arm, I guess you'd say. I don't know what the story with the ghost arm is, but I'm sure we will find out over the course of the game. Like I said, I want to draw her holding the axe, and the axe is almost as big as she is. I think it's actually bigger than her in the game. So we're going to try to stick to that. Big ol' weapon. Something I think you'll notice if you watch my paneling episode, or my paneling series, when you have a panel that you're copying over, it's a lot faster to get the pose. When you're doing something from imagination, or even if it's from reference and you're kind of combining a couple of different things to make something original, sometimes it's a little bit slower to get there from a pose perspective. So I try. Bad habit that I have that I'm trying to break is I start drawing details way too early. At a stage when my drawing should really just be gestural, I'm like trying to figure out details in a lot of places, and that's a bad habit because a lot of times they end up getting erased and it's just wasteful. So we're gonna figure out really just kind of the bones of this right now. Mel's kind of slender. By the same token, she's got pretty broad shoulders. So she kind of has like a, like an upside down triangle to her silhouette. Especially depending on what weapon she's carrying. I picked the axe because I like the axe a lot, but you don't see a lot of the promo photos of her holding the axe, and the reason might be that it's kind of steals focus. I might go for the skull. I came really close to getting it clear yesterday with the skull. All kind of these roguelite games, you always hit that point where you feel like you've unlocked something, or you unlock a new weapon and it just takes you to a whole new place, games-wise. So she could have the Argent Skull, potentially, and then maybe she's doing something with the hand. I really got to figure out how I want her to be standing, right? Because gravity is kind of an important thing when you're drawing a figure, right? So gravity pulls everything down. So if you don't want your character to look like they're kind of floating in zero G, you got to figure out where the feet hit the floor, and everything kind of pushes down on that. So she's not really aligned right. The shoulders should be kind of parallel to the ground. She's got kind of an hourglass figure, which is because of the game, right? Do you get it? Hourglass? Do you get it? Because of time. But like I was saying, you want the shoulders to be really parallel to the ground. It's like, oh no, what have I done to myself? Every time I'm starting a new drawing like this, it's always like, oh no, what have I done to myself? Honestly, this blank page stage is the hardest part. Just figuring out the initial, like what I want it to look. Because I looked up all these references for like people holding axes, and I just immediately throw them all out. I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't like that. It was too good a plan. A lot of times I'll start several different layers because I don't, I'm figuring this stuff out as I go. I do that. That's how I do everything. Is I figure this stuff out as I go, and in a lot of cases, it's like sometimes starting from scratch is easier just to ideate. And a lot of times what will happen is I'll end up going back to my original one after I get some of my other ideas out. Just because I want to try it a couple different ways. I want to try a couple different things. I'm going to try not to delete anything. I try to just make it invisible and start a new layer, because I don't think it's a good idea to trash stuff, trash ideas. It's really easy to get down on yourself on the early stages of a drawing. And it's really easy to go, oh, this is crap, I can't do this. Throw it out. Start something else. This is I can't do it. And it's like there's always that kind of little barrier, that roadblock, that bump that you got to push over and push through to get to your idea, what's in your head. Mel's really cool. That one I'll erase. It's my favorite thing to do with this show, is give a piece of advice and then immediately do the opposite. This kind of initial figure that I drew, I'm liking this torso shape, so I'm going to see if I can salvage this. And it's like really, just about everything that I draw starts out in this state. Rough. And it's harder to do when I'm talking and everything. That's kind of always the caveat, right? Yeah, this is good. So, man, Supergiant, so good at character design. They're so good at it. It's annoying how good they are. When I saw the discourse, y'all know how much I love discourse. The Hestia discourse, people actually upset about that character design. I can't believe it. Like, how could you not love it? They're really, their ability to, because I always get so burned out on Greek mythology. Like, I get tired of it because it feels like people go to that well all the time. And I was, I do a little work on Lost Between Worlds. So there's a comic that's written by Edmund DeCastro, and that comic is about reapers that come to, maybe it's a complicated comic. There's a lot going on, but the elevator pitch is it's about Grim Reapers who are trying to save the universe from this existential disaster. I did a bad job describing it, but that's kind of the gist of it. But so there's a lot of mythological figures that show up, and when I started reading the comic, and then when I did a little bit of work for it, I stopped to give Edwin credit. I said, thank you for not just doing Greek mythology, because so many people just do Greek mythology, and I get tired of it. You get burned out on it. You can get burned out on anything. And like Supergiant with their Hades stuff is like it's the best version of Greek mythology in popular culture for my money. And it is immaculate. I don't know how they do it. To have stuff that's really like very intrinsically linked to something that everybody knows about in that Greek mythology, but at the same time keeping it so fresh. And I learned recently that every character in Hades is based on some actual figure from Greek mythology. There were some that I thought were original characters, But I thought Zagreus was an original character. He's not. He's based on an actual Greek mythological figure. And they take liberties, obviously. They make it all work for the best in the context of the game. And I just have immense respect for that. The team over there does fantastic work. Alright, so we kind of got her torso looking the way we want it to. Kinda. It's rough, but I'm gonna pull her back. Give her kind of like a stronger back. That's gonna change like 80 more times as we're working on this, but that's okay. We're gonna go ape one of the poses from the official art. You know, Hirohiko Araki is the mangaka behind JoJo. Says that poses are the best way to express the personality of your character. And so when you're working with a new character, like I am here, someone I'm not familiar with, sometimes to capture kind of what they are, if we work from the poses in the original art, can help us to get a better feel for the character. I don't know if I'm going to do a full body here, if I'm going to do a waist up or a knees up. But Mel is cool because she's a witch, which is always badass. Remember, witchcraft is always cool. Look how long that arm is. That's incorrect. Pour one out for Wally. It's still too long. That's okay. Remember what I said about how I try to get details too early in the process? Spending a lot of time trying to get the actual positioning on this hand is kind of a fool's errand at this point, when I'm not even necessarily attached to the idea of keeping that hand in that position. I'm going to put the Argent skull up here. Now we know. And I'm not sure if I want her, because it's going to kind of be floating, right? So do I want her controlling it with her ghost hand, which is just, this is going to be the ghost hand, or her real hand? And I also want to have her be able to have her hair kind of fluttering. Kind of a slow start today, but that's okay. Art is not about getting things done quickly all the time. Sometimes it's about getting things done correctly. And when I talk to you next time, we are going to do some more work on this sketch, and maybe we'll figure out what we want this pose to look like. Who's to say? But I'll see you then.